from scnr.com. And for the life of me, I don't understand why no one is talking about this. The Senate has released their summary of the National Defense Authorization Act, which would require women to register for the draft. This is big, okay? The House has already passed the National Defense Authorization Act. The Senate is now putting theirs forward, which includes requiring women to register for the draft. National Defense Authorization Act would require women to register for selective service. Rep. Roy responded to the news, writing, quote, "You can go straight to hell over my dead body." The U.S. Senate Armed Service Committee version of the NDAA for fiscal year 2025 would automatically register women for the draft. Heck, they don't even got to do it. They're forced to do it. The committee approved the bill with a vote of 22-3. The Strengthening the Joint Force and Defense Workforce section of the NDAA says the Military Selective Service Act would be amended to require the registration of women for selective service. Since 1917, when the Selective Service was created, all men ages 18 to 25 have been required to register. However, there has not been a draft since the Vietnam War. Must Read Alaska reports in 2017, Congress created a commission to study the matter of adding women to the draft. The commission's final report required by the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act recommended that women be drafted. This is a necessary and fair step, making it possible to draw on the talent of a unified nation in a time of national emergency, the 11 commissioners wrote in their final report. The effort has failed in previous years, versions of the NDA, but this year it looks like it may pass. Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, a Democrat, has been one of the biggest advocates of adding women to the Selective Service. Republicans, including Rep. Chip Roy of Texas and Senator Mike Lee of Utah, have been pushing back forcefully. I'm with Democrats on this one. I am 100% with the Democrats on this one. I don't understand why Republicans think it's okay that women get civic privileges without civic responsibilities. And so long as we have a 19th Amendment, women must be drafted. And I will add, drafting doesn't mean combat. Doesn't mean you put the women on the front line. They can do tons of different jobs, like janitor or chef, cook.
PR officers.
They can do daycare, right? They can do all of these jobs and not fight.
I think women going to combat would be a terrible idea, and I think they're potentially, yeah, in wartime, maybe you need more bodies to do sort of administrative stuff at home. But generally, I think drafts are for boys. And I think it's a bad idea to mix women in because they'll just end up competing for the right to be in combat. And that's a bad idea because it risks everyone's life. Telling
women that they have to machine parts for tools does not mean the debate. I don't like these arguments where people say, if X, then you are guaranteed to get women in combat. When we say women should be required to engage in some kind of civic service in the time of national emergency, whether you want to have a debate over combat is still an entirely separate conversation. And if women want the right to vote, then they are going to war. And that means making guns in factories. That means driving transport vehicles, transporting domestically, maybe delivering cargo. Men can go and fight, and women can drive trucks transporting weapons and munitions to military bases domestically.
I'd be happy to do all of that, and I'd be happy to draft women to do it, but I don't think it should be the military because I don't think afterwards they should be able to qualify for the GI benefits. If you went to war, if you have seen combat, I think you should be treated differently than someone that we intentionally said, you have to do it, but you get to stay in a factory. That's a totally different thing. I'm happy to set up a civic service corps for women that they have to be drafted into, but I don't think that they should be in the military because, again, the military comes with benefits.
There's also there is a lot of just inherent danger to women beyond what is dangerous to men in the military, the kinds of things that they have to deal with as threats. I mean, there's certain types of assault that men typically are not subject to. There are, the fact that people might go out of their way a little bit more to save a woman than a man. There's a number of reasons that this could be risky. I actually really like the idea of a civil service corps. Going back to Starship Troopers, everybody memes on the movie, but the book is serious. And I think that the idea of citizenship, and service is a good point. That said, I do worry that if we have a draft for women, part of the reason we were so successful in World War II is that women were able to fill the roles that men typically had back home while the men were over fighting. And I would worry that if we drafted them directly into the military, we wouldn't have the workforce we need.
I'm going to give a shout out to Josie, the redhead libertarian, who said, here are the names of the sluts for war who want to conscript your daughters for World War III because they know your sons won't be enough to satisfy their bloodlusts. Wow. Tell us how you really feel, Josie.